4 years ago, a little girl vanished under mysterious circumstances after school. At the time, I had just lost my job and was running a small snack stand outside a kindergarten. According to what people said, her parents had been waiting outside the gate the whole time, yet never picked her up. Later came the crying, the public outrage, and a massive compensation payout. Not long after that, the kindergarten shut down. 4 years later, I had changed jobs and gained access to the files from that old case. Little by little, the things I experienced back when I was running that stand began to resurface in my mind. And those memories were enough to completely overturn the entire case. Chapter 1. July 12, 2020. Back then, the subway station nearby hadn't been built yet. Most parents drove to pick up their children after school. Lily would always come by after dismissal, holding her mother's hand, and buy a warm cookie from my stand. Then she would get into a small electric car and leave. She always smiled at me and said, "Uncle, your cookies are so sweet." Once, she even said to her mom, "The best part of every day is getting a cookie here." Lily, that was the little girl's name. I only learned it later, when I saw her parents making a scene after she went missing. The day she disappeared, it was raining heavily. On rainy days, there were usually twice as many cars picking up children as usual. So the kindergarten dismissed students in two separate groups. There was about a 20-minute gap between them. Lily's class was scheduled to leave in the second group. But after all the children had left, the teacher noticed one was still missing. Lily hadn't come out. She had just answered roll call while lining up earlier. The teacher panicked and went looking for her. She searched the entire campus but couldn't find Lily anywhere. The problem was, throughout the entire dismissal period, Lily's mother had been waiting outside the gate the whole time and never saw her. Later, the school assumed Lily must have slipped out with the first group of students. Both the school and the police reviewed the sign-out records and surveillance footage, but found no evidence that Lily had left the campus. Besides, her mother had been right there at the entrance. Even if Lily had run out early, she should have gone straight to her mother. And so, on that stormy, thunder-filled evening, Lily disappeared without a trace. Chapter 2. August 6, 2024, 9 a.m. 4 years passed just like that. Lily was never found. By then, the kindergarten had become nothing more than a ruin. During those 4 years, I passed the exam to become a police assistant. After being officially assigned, I was often stationed in this area. Time seemed to slow down here. Sometimes, I felt as if I could still see the once crowded entrance, a little girl running up to me and saying, "Uncle, your cookies are really sweet." Everything felt like it had happened just yesterday. It wasn't until I had the chance to organize old case files at the station and open Lily's missing persons file that I truly realized 4 years had gone by. That little girl, barely 5 years old back then, had reached the point where she could legally be declared dead. Chapter 3. July 21, 2020. It was my last day running the stand outside the kindergarten. The school gates were closed, and Lily's parents didn't show up either. I'd heard they had already secured a huge compensation payout from the kindergarten. The school was going to shut down for good. At dusk, as I packed up my things, a deep sense of loss settled over me. Then a little boy called out to me, "Uncle, you're still here." "I'm closing up now," I said. "No snacks today." "No," the boy said, waving his hands. "I'm not here to buy anything. I'm here to give you some money." "What money?" I asked, confused. "Last Tuesday, Lily told me she bought something from you and forgot to pay," he said. "She asked me to bring the money to you after school. But it was raining so hard that day, I just went straight home. I'm glad you're still here today." Lily. Rain. My heart skipped. "Kid," I asked as I crouched down, "the Lily you're talking about, is it that Lily?" "Yes," the boy said, blinking. "Last Tuesday, that was the very day Lily disappeared. But she hadn't come to my stand that day at all, there was no unpaid cookie." Besides, students weren't allowed to leave campus before dismissal. How could she have come out early to buy a cookie? Seeing the look on my face, the boy lowered his voice and asked, "Uncle, did something happen to Lily?" I nodded. He let out a quiet sigh and said, "Uncle, Lily really loved your cookies." But what? I asked. But she never actually got to eat them. Chapter 4. August 6, 2024, 9:30 a.m. While reviewing the case file, I noticed a small but critical detail. In the section titled Explanation of Evidence, it stated, "Due to overlapping camera angles and blind spots, the kindergarten surveillance footage and sign-out records might contain omissions. As a result, the key evidence supporting the conclusion that Lily did not leave the campus during dismissal came from her mother's testimony. From the moment the first group of children came out until the very last child left, I never saw Lily. And if she had seen me, she would have run straight to me. It was this testimony that placed all the responsibility squarely on the kindergarten. At the time, the police must have conducted multiple inspections and interviews before choosing to trust what the mother said. But testimony is not the same as physical evidence. What if her mother had lied? Chapter 5. July 21, 2020. What do you mean by that? I asked. The boy jumped, startled by my sudden outburst. He replied timidly, "I mean, she never got to eat it." "How is that possible?" I said. "She came every day and said my cookies were sweet. She even said the thing she looked forward to most every day was." "But, Uncle." The boy interrupted me. "Did you ever actually see her put it in her mouth?" That sentence was swallowed by the noise of passing traffic and turned into a series of painfully vivid dreams that would follow me for the rest of my life. In those dreams, I replayed the same scene over and over again. Lily coming to my stand every day after school. She appeared right on time, the moment the kindergarten bell rang. A little girl who always wore a blue pinafore dress. It was a bit worn, but still clean and bright. She would cheerfully say goodbye to her teacher. Then she would skip over to my stand, becoming my first and most loyal customer of the day. She smiled sweetly at me, staring eagerly at the warm cookies, smacking her lips. "Uncle, one cookie, please." She pressed 2 coins into my hand. "Thank you, Uncle." After getting the cookie, she cradled it like a treasure. Then she would carefully walk toward her mother. Finally, she would get into that small electric car. She never once ate the cookie in front of me. Not even a single bite. Chapter 6. August 6, 2024, 10:30 a.m. I told you to help organize files, not to dig up old cases. The unit chief slammed Lily's file onto the desk. "But sir," I said, "it's been 4 years. If we don't clarify this now, she'll be legally declared dead." "You think I don't know that?" he snapped. "Do I need you to explain it to me?" I didn't dare say anything more. The chief lifted his cup and took a sip of tea. "We never stopped looking for this girl," he said. "We launched multiple special operations over the years. All of them came up empty. And her parents weren't exactly proactive either. You know how it is, once people get the money, give it enough time, and suddenly nothing matters anymore." "Sir," I said, my voice almost pleading, "could you do me a favor, just this once? I've been working overtime nonstop these past few days. Could you let David, the officer who originally handled this case, go over the leads with me again? Just for today." The file listed the responsible officer as David from Unit 3. "It's been missing for this long," the chief said. "What use are old leads now? Unless..." He paused. "You're suspecting the parents?" I didn't answer. I just looked at him. "We did consider that," he continued. "But back then, the kindergarten had no evidence proving they hadn't lost the child. The parents blocked the gates, posted videos online, and public opinion exploded. Everyone blamed the kindergarten. The Education Bureau and the city put pressure on us. They wanted fast results, a compensation decision, and for the backlash to die down. I know that, sir. He sighed. All right. I'll give you 1 day. As I was leaving, he patted my shoulder. Some things, he said quietly, you'll understand once you've been in this line of work long enough. Chapter 7. November 13, 2020. I couldn't understand it. I had been stuck on these two questions for a long time. Why did Lily ask someone else to bring me the money that day? And if she came every day, why did that boy say she had never actually eaten the cookies? I moved my stand to a different kindergarten. Every time the dismissal bell rang, I would see it in my mind. A little girl in a blue pinafore dress, skipping toward me. And then my thoughts would circle back to those same two questions. Day after day. Over and over again. Until one ordinary afternoon. A small, seemingly insignificant moment made one of those questions suddenly clear. It was the weekend. I had nothing to do at home, so I set up my stand anyway. As expected, hardly anyone came by. I leaned on the table and dozed off. In my half-dream, I felt someone nudging me. I jerked my head up. A little girl was standing there. "1 cookie, please," she said. "Oh, sure." I stood up, wrapped a cookie, and handed it to her out of habit. She took it and smiled sweetly at me. I thought she might want something else and was about to ask. But instead, she turned around and ran off. She didn't pay. I stood there, stunned, watching her disappear into a nearby alley. I didn't call after her. Things like that happened occasionally. I figured I'd just treat her. I sat back down and rested my head again. I don't know how much time passed before I heard someone calling out, "Uncle! Uncle!" This time, it was a boy's voice. "Yeah, coming," I muttered, yawning as I grabbed a cookie to pack. That's when I noticed someone standing behind him. It was the same little girl from before. Cookie crumbs clung to the corner of her mouth. Her eyes were red, her shoulders trembling. She had clearly just been crying. "I'm not here to buy anything," the boy said. "My little sister was being naughty earlier. She ran over here and bought a cookie without paying." As he spoke, he handed me 2 coins. "Here, Uncle. I'm paying you back." Chapter 8. August 6, 2024, 11:10 a.m. How did you figure that out? David from Unit 2 asked, clearly stunned. Just moments earlier, I had brought the case file to him and told him about a lead I had uncovered. "Those two really hit it well," David said. "I only found out later, during a routine follow-up visit to their place." As he spoke, he searched his memory. "The moment I walked into their apartment and saw the balcony, I froze. You tell me this child had been missing for so long. So why were there freshly washed children's clothes hanging neatly on the balcony?" At first, the parents refused to explain. They kept dodging the question, trying to change the subject. But there was no way I was letting that slide. After I pressed them again and again, they finally admitted. Those clothes didn't belong to Lily. That's when I realized. Lily had a younger sister. Chapter 9. November 13, 2020. That night, I couldn't sleep. There was no mistake. This had to be it. The image of the little boy and his sister from earlier that day kept replaying in my mind. Over and over, I revisited the afternoon Lily disappeared. Thinking about everyone who had come to my stand to buy cookies before dismissal. And younger than Lily. Tossing and turning, it suddenly hit me. There was one person who fit. A little girl I had never seen before. She didn't seem to belong to that kindergarten. I couldn't remember what she looked like or what she was wearing. But there was one thing I remembered clearly. She paid. And she was old enough to be in kindergarten. So why was she able to run out before dismissal? Had I been wrong? No. No. There had to be something I was missing. Chapter 10. August 6, 2024, 11:40 a.m. What? David said. You're saying that on the day Lily disappeared, her sister came to your stand before dismissal to buy a cookie. And Lily knew about it? That's what it looks like, I said. David frowned deeply and lit a cigarette. Damn, then this really is a problem. What do you mean? I asked. Think about it, David said, taking another drag. If the two girls attended the same kindergarten, it might make sense. But the problem is. He paused. I asked about it before. Lily and her sister didn't go to the same kindergarten. Then there's only one possibility, I said. Exactly, David replied, his expression turning grave. Someone brought her sister there early that day. Chapter 11. August 6, 2024, 11:50 a.m. Does this have anything to do with Lily's disappearance? I asked. We can't say for sure yet, David replied, but something's definitely wrong. As he spoke, he picked up his phone. Chief, are you in your office? 10 minutes later, David and I were standing in front of the chief. David gave him a brief rundown of what we had just discussed. This case is almost 4 years old, the chief said. If you want to verify something at this point, that's fine. But be careful. They're not suspects. Yes, sir, David and I said together. The chief continued. And no matter how much you dig into old details, it's still not enough. The real question is always in the present. What happened during those 20 minutes? For years have passed, where is Lily now? Chapter 12. April 17, 2021. He was right. So what if she had a sister? During that period, I moved my stand again, this time to a kindergarten in the city center. It was about 4 stops away from Lily's kindergarten. One day, I saw the same boy who had once come to pay Lily's debt for her. It seemed that after Lily's kindergarten shut down, he had transferred here. I called him over and treated him to a cookie. As we talked, I could tell that the environment and teachers here were much better than at the previous kindergarten. But I also suspected the tuition had to be much higher. Uncle, do you still remember Lily? The boy suddenly asked. Yes, I said. Why? She disappeared. I know. She was really pitiful, Uncle. When I transferred here, I had to repeat a grade. And now her sister is in my class. The moment he said her sister, my heart skipped. Why do you say Lily was pitiful? I asked. She was tricked by her parents. Her sister's allowance, she gets a lot of it. Chapter 13. August 6, 2024, 12:40 p.m. After having lunch with David in the cafeteria, we headed to Lily's parents' home. The door was opened by a girl who looked like she was in elementary school. She had to be Lily's younger sister, Emma. She was almost up to my waist now. If Lily hadn't disappeared, she would probably be about this tall too. Mom, the police are here. Emma called out before running back into her room. Lily's mother came out of the kitchen and glanced at us. It's been a long time, Mary, David said, handing her his badge. Oh, I was just washing dishes. She replied, wiping her hands on her apron and giving the badge only a cursory look. Have you two eaten? I can make you some noodles. No need, David said. We already ate. He glanced around the room. Is it just you and your daughter at home? Yes, Mary replied. Her father's away on a project again. Then we won't take up too much of your time. We're here about Lily. At the mention of Lily's name, the girl inside ran out as well. What grade is she in now? David asked. 3rd grade. Time really flies, David said. If Lily hadn't disappeared, she'd be in 3rd grade too. What is it, officer? Mary asked. Is there news about Lily? No, David said. You know, she's been missing for nearly 4 years now. Under normal circumstances, after 4 years, a declaration of death can be filed. We won't file for that, Mary interrupted. Lily will definitely be found. I understand, David said. We're not here to ask you to file anything. There are just a few questions we'd like to ask. Questions? What could you possibly ask me? There's one detail from the day Lily disappeared that we never asked you about. It's been so long. What detail? That afternoon, David said, did you go alone to pick Lily up? At that question, a flicker of hesitation crossed Mary's eyes. Yes, she said. I have a car. I always go by myself. David and I exchanged a glance. Then he gestured toward Emma. And her? David asked. Who picked her up? She. I did, Mary said. So that means, David continued, that day after school, you picked up the younger one first, then went to pick up Lily. Is that correct? Mary's gaze began to drift. I can't remember who I picked up first that day. You can't remember? David frowned. A chill crept up my spine. David and I understood at the same time this woman was lying. After Lily disappeared, she and Lily's father had first gone to the kindergarten. Then straight to the police station, where they stayed until late that night. Which meant they must have already picked up the younger child. There was no question about it. Mary seemed to realize the problem and quickly tried to correct herself. I remember now. That day I picked up. That was when Emma spoke up. Mom, of course you picked me up first. It was my birthday that day. You said you had plans that night, so you came early to my kindergarten to celebrate my birthday. Mary immediately followed her lead. That's right. Her father and I were supposed to travel that night, but then Lily disappeared. I see, David said, nodding thoughtfully. The room fell silent. Water ran loudly from somewhere. It must have been coming from the kitchen. I'll go turn off the tap. You two have a seat. No need, David said, waving his hand. We'll head back to the station. Thank you for your cooperation. All right, if there's any news about Lily, we'll notify you immediately. After we stepped outside, everything looked exactly the same as before. And yet, nothing felt the same anymore. If the two of them hadn't actually planned to travel that day, then they must have already known that something was going to happen that night. Could all of this really have been premeditated? Chapter 14. August 6, 2024, 1:30 p.m. But why would they do something like this? David said as we returned to the station. Lily was their daughter. He lit a cigarette, visibly troubled. I said nothing. When Emma mentioned that day was her birthday, I suddenly realized a cruel truth. One I should have understood long ago. I tilted my head slightly, the cold air from the office AC stinging my eyes. Long ago, on one quiet evening, Lily didn't buy a cookie that day. Instead, she stayed at my stand, talking with me for a long time. Chapter 15. May 17, 2020. Uncle, my mom is going to be late today. Can I sit here with you for a while? After I agreed, she carefully sat down beside me. Dismissal time was busy, with plenty of customers. She watched me work with wide, blinking eyes. And whenever I was overwhelmed, she would politely help by handing me paper bags. When things finally slowed down, I noticed her sitting quietly to the side. I took a cookie and offered it to her. She smiled sweetly, but shook her head. Uncle, I'm not eating today. Go on, I said. This one's on me. But my mom says I shouldn't just take things from people. This isn't just taking, I said. You helped me out. This is your pay. Really, Uncle? Yes. She accepted it with delight, staring at the cookie in her hands for a long time, hesitant to take a bite. Today, Lily finally got to eat one. So this is what it tastes like: sweet milkiness, a soft crust, warm filling. She savored it like a treasure. If I hadn't known her, I would have thought it was her first time eating one. But it really was. After finishing, she licked her lips, still wanting more. Then rummaged through her backpack for a long time. Finally, she looked up and handed me something. It was a crystal keychain. Inside it was a tiny snow globe, a dreamlike little world. Uncle, my mom says that all good things have to go to my sister first. Good food, fun toys, this is the only thing I kept for myself. She lowered her head. My sister said today that I'm not really her sister. We argued, and I cried and went to my mom. But my mom said it was all my fault, that I shouldn't bully my sister. So? She looked up, tears welling in her eyes. I'm afraid this will get taken too. Uncle, could you keep it for me, just for a while? Why give it to me? I asked, taking it from her. She suddenly smiled through her tears. Because I trust you, Uncle. Anyone who can make cookies this sweet can't be a bad person. That evening, when the first star appeared in the night sky, I pushed my cart and walked her home. That day, because she had argued with her sister. Her parents hadn't planned to pick her up at all. Uncle, when I grow up, I'll buy all your cookies so you won't have to work so hard anymore. She was happy that I walked her home, skipping along the way, chatting nonstop. When we reached the building downstairs, I stopped. She turned back to look at me, reluctant to go. Thank you, Uncle. It feels so good to be protected. I really wish you could always stay by Lily's side. Don't worry, I said. I'm here every day. If you want a cookie, just come by. Go on upstairs. I watched her go inside. She knocked on the door on the left side of the third floor. Through the window, I could see the inside. Bright lights, laughter, warmth. But the moment Lily stepped inside, the light in her eyes vanished. Chapter 16. August 6, 2024, 2 p.m. Lily wasn't her biological daughter, I said to David. That's impossible, he shot back. We suspected that back then. But Lily's birth certificate lists them as her parents. Then how do you explain Emma saying that date, July 12, was her birthday? When I said that, David's eyes widened. He grabbed his phone immediately. Check Emma's date of birth for me. Send it now. 2 minutes later, he read the message and collapsed back into his chair. How did we miss this? Their birthdays are less than 6 months apart. Exactly, I said. That's why I'm saying Lily wasn't her biological child. Then everything makes sense, David muttered. Damn it, how was I this stupid 4 years ago? David, I said, the pressure back then was enormous. It wasn't your fault. And it's not too late now. David stood up abruptly. Yes. It's not too late. We're going back to Mary's place right now and bringing her in. But we don't have any direct evidence, I said. Falsifying a birth certificate alone is enough, David replied as he grabbed his phone. I'm reporting this to the chief and calling everyone who worked the case back then. This time, we're getting the truth no matter what. Sirens wailed as we sped through the streets. I sat in the car, staring out the window. I had waited a long time for this moment. And now that it was here, I didn't know what kind of ending awaited us. Was it too late? Was there still time? Lily, where are you? Are you still alive? The little world inside the snow globe uncle has been keeping it safe for you all this time. Chapter 17. August 6, 2024, 3:40 p.m. When we knocked on Mary's door again, the look in her eyes wasn't surprise. It was fear. The kind of fear that comes from a guilty conscience. David, expressionless, held up an official A4 document stamped with the seal. Please come with us to the station. You're suspected of falsifying a birth certificate and of orchestrating Lily's disappearance. What? She cried. "Officer, you've got it all wrong." Even after she was brought back to the station, she kept repeating the same words. When it came to the falsified birth certificate, the evidence was undeniable, and she had no choice but to admit it. But regarding Lily's disappearance, she insisted she had always treated Lily as her own daughter and that we were completely framing her. The interrogation hit a dead end. We truly had no hard evidence proving they had planned Lily's disappearance. At the same time, however, we were carrying out two parallel actions. First, while arranging temporary guardianship for Emma, we conducted a thorough search of their home. Second, we called back everyone who had worked the case before and began re-examining every single lead from the start. As we waited anxiously, I said to the chief, "Could you give me 10 minutes? I'd like to question Mary alone one more time." The chief agreed. Chapter 18. August 6, 2024, 5 p.m. The moment she saw me enter, Mary shouted, "Officer, have you figured it out yet? You can't just accuse people like this." I didn't respond. Instead, I walked straight up to her. "Lily's mother," I said, "do you remember me?" She stared at me in confusion for a long moment, then shook her head. "Aren't you a new officer?" "Yes," I replied. "But a few years ago, we had already met, and quite often." "I don't remember you at all," Mary said, clearly caught off guard. "Do you remember how, back then, Lily would buy a cookie near the school gate every day after dismissal?" She didn't answer right away. Her gaze dropped from mine. I knew she remembered who I was. And I knew she understood what it meant for this person, standing in front of her now. To carry the weight of 4 years of buried guilt, ready to tear away a carefully maintained lie. The exhaustion and remorse of 4 long years began to take on real weight in my hands. It felt as if I were holding a pair of heavy drum mallets, climbing step by step toward the platform of justice. Finally reaching the moment to strike the drum and call out the truth. "Oh," she said at last. "So it's you, congratulations. You're a police officer now." A fake smile still clung to her face. "Tell me," I said. "Was Lily a good child?" The smile vanished instantly. "What are you trying to say? 4 years ago, every single time Lily happily ran toward you holding that cookie. You asked her the exact same question. 'Lily, are you a good child?' And every time, she would look reluctantly at the cookie in her hands, nod obediently. Then follow you into the car. Emma would already be in the back seat by then. I couldn't hear what happened after the doors closed, but I can guess what you said next. 'If you're a good child, then you should give the tasty things to your sister.'" Mary cut me off. "Are you bored or something? Is this all about your stupid cookies? They're both my daughters. I'll decide who eats what." "But Lily wasn't your daughter," I shouted. "Because Lily wasn't your biological child. You poured your hypocrisy and cruelty onto a 5-year-old girl, meticulously and without mercy. Was it just a cookie? Those 2 coins she paid. They were her only allowance, her one daily hope. I remembered every time Lily stretched out her small hand to give me those 2 coins. They carried her body heat. She must have held them tightly for a long, long time. And your own daughter attended the best kindergarten, had endless allowance, endless treats. Yet you lied to Lily, telling her that her sister had no allowance at all. How vicious can you be? You made her watch, again and again, as things she had never once enjoyed were eaten in front of her, taken from her. All under the excuse that she had to be a good child. That blank indictment, empty for 4 years, was finally being filled in, stroke by stroke. I wanted nothing more than to grab her hand and force her to write out every one of her crimes in black and white. "So what?" she sneered. "Is that something the police can even interfere with?" The corners of her mouth curled into a mocking smile. The predator in front of me finally shed her disguise and bared her fangs. I stood up abruptly, stepped toward her, and stared her down. "You didn't just take everything from her, you used her, then abandoned her. Her disappearance that day was clearly something you planned together. You brought the younger one there early. Lily saw her sister holding a cookie. Because you always told Lily that her sister had no allowance, Lily innocently assumed she hadn't paid. So she asked her classmate to bring me the money. That day, you must have said something to her. She didn't get lost, she disappeared on purpose. Where did Lily go after that? Tell me. It's not too late. Say it. The predator's face remained locked in that same mocking smile. I don't know what you're talking about. The kindergarten lost her. Just as I was about to grab her arm, the door suddenly flew open. David burst in. He was holding a drawing, which he thrust in front of Mary. The paper had yellowed with age, its creases like deep cracks, splitting the image apart. Both Mary and I stared, wide-eyed. We both recognized what was drawn on it. A fairy tale world inside a snow globe. White snow. Green trees. Red lights. A little house. What does this mean? David demanded, slamming the drawing onto the table. Emma says Lily went into this picture. What does that mean? Chapter 19. June 24, 2022. 2 months before I decided to take the exam to become a police assistant. Uncle, this should be the last time I come here to eat your cookies. I looked up. It was the little boy, Lily's former deskmate. He appeared out of nowhere, light and sudden like a sprite. Why? I asked. Because I graduated, he said, proudly holding up a bright red certificate in his hand. Congratulations, I said. Then today's cookie is on me. He thanked me happily and started eating. So, he had already graduated. I took out the keychain Lily had given me and rubbed it slowly between my fingers. That's Lily's, right? The boy asked, looking at it. Yes, I said. You remember it too? Of course. When we were deskmates, she took it out every day to look at it. She said she would definitely go to the world inside it someday. Did she buy it herself? I asked. No. Her mom gave it to her. Something felt wrong. As he ate, the boy continued. Her mom said that the world inside was beautiful, and that one day she would take Lily there. Suddenly, I understood. That keychain and that so-called world was a false, cruel form of guidance. Just like stories I had seen in the news. When parents abandon a child, they take her to an amusement park first. A fairy tale place filled with crowds and laughter. And then, one turn of the head later, she is left completely alone. Chapter 20. August 6, 2024, 6:40 p.m. You were guiding her, conditioning her, telling her you would take her somewhere. All to prepare her for abandonment. David shouted at Mary. Lily wasn't missing at all, she was deliberately abandoned. You scammed a huge amount of money, then went on living comfortably here. You're ruthless, using public outrage to corner us and leave us no chance to see the truth. Mary was momentarily stunned by David's accusations and didn't respond. But once she regained her composure, the mockery returned to her face. All this noise over a drawing, she scoffed. David steadied himself. You think that's the only thing we found? 4 years have passed. Of course you cleaned up every trace. But you forgot one thing. David pulled out several sheets of paper. They were records of a used car transaction. Not long after Lily disappeared, they sold their old car and bought a better one. David immediately tracked down the buyer and asked whether there had been anything unusual about the car. The buyer said there wasn't, except that the car had been unusually clean, even in the corners. Still, David noticed hesitation in the man's eyes. Under further questioning, the buyer finally admitted something else. Out of curiosity, he had discovered that the car's onboard system had been reset. So he restored it. From the driving history, he found that late one night, the car had driven to a remote area on the outskirts of the city and stayed there for a long time. David checked the date immediately. That night was the very day Lily disappeared. Chapter 21. Epilogue. August 6, 2024, 7:40 p.m. Criminal investigation teams from 2 precincts were mobilized, along with K-9 units. At the same time, a cross-province operation to apprehend Lily's father was underway. Before the final, brutal truth surfaced, colleagues at the station pieced together several facts. 1 week after Lily was born, her biological mother quietly disappeared. She had already discovered that Lily's father was having an affair with Mary and that Mary was pregnant. With nothing left to lose, Lily's father simply changed Lily's birth record, listing Mary as the mother. Mary had always harbored resentment and hatred toward a child who wasn't her own. When Lily turned 5, they finally decided to abandon her. But what exactly happened in the end? What really happened during those 20 minutes? 1 hour later, David called. I broke down on the other end of the line. Did you find Lily? David was silent for a long time. After nearly 30 seconds, I finally heard his choked voice. We found her, it should be her. The little girl I remembered, always skipping along. Was forever frozen in that sudden early autumn 4 years ago. The phone slipped from my hand. By the time I realized what I was doing, I had already rushed into the interrogation room and slammed Mary to the ground. She was only 4 years old. Why did you kill her? Why did you kill her? I only remember people pulling me away. And me repeating the same words over and over again. Chapter 22. August 6, 2024, 10:40 p.m. It was almost 11. No one had left the building. People gathered outside on their own. Eyes red. Waiting for the little angel who had been buried for 4 years. Waiting for 2 demons to be brought to justice. Chapter 23. 10:51 p.m. Lily was brought back and sent directly to the Forensic Examination Center. Chapter 24. 11:47 p.m. 400 kilometers away, members of the task force called. Lily's father had been captured. From his confession, we finally learned the truth of what happened during those 20 minutes. Chapter 25. July 12, 2020, 3:12 p.m. Is that world really calling for me? Through the iron gate of the kindergarten, Lily watched her sister eating a cookie and asked her mother timidly. Yes. You have to go today. I'm not picking you up. Tell your teacher you're going home by yourself. But I don't want to leave this home. I don't want to leave my sister, Lily said obediently. Mary finally lost her patience. What home do you have? Who's your sister? You're just a burden. Get out of this house. Disappear from this world. 5-year-old Lily couldn't understand those vicious words. She cried uncontrollably and reached out to her sister for help. But what she heard from her sister was an even crueler truth. Her parents gave her sister lots and lots of allowance. It was her sister's birthday that day. Their parents had prepared a big cake for her. The cookie Lily treasured so dearly meant nothing to her sister at all. In the end, Emma threw the cookie onto the ground and said to her, word by word, I never thought of you as my sister. Mom says you're just a burden. Rain began to fall, light and steady. More and more people gathered at the gate. No one noticed the crying Lily. As the school gate opened and children began to leave one by one through the sign-out process, Lily quietly followed behind and slipped out. She opened the car door. On the back seat, just as she expected, was a big cake. Something she had never seen, never tasted. Everything the 5-year-old believed in collapsed in an instant. Crying, she grabbed her sister's hand. She had never dared to do that before. Why did you lie to me? Why did you all lie to me? You little bastard, how dare you touch her? Mary dragged her into the car and pressed down on her with all her strength. Already unable to breathe from crying, Lily died there, under Mary's weight. In her final moment, her eyes were wide open, staring at the cake that never belonged to her. When Mary realized Lily had stopped breathing, panic set in. At that moment, she heard voices from the kindergarten gate. Parents of the senior class, please get ready to pick up your children. She looked around. No one had seen anything. No one had seen Lily run out. A bold idea took shape. Inside a demon's mind. Chapter 26. August 29, 2022. After finishing the last question of the police assistant recruitment exam, I let out a long breath and looked out the window. Sunlight streamed in, cutting through the gloom that had lingered for so long. I believed Lily had to be somewhere in this world, waiting for me to find her. I was certain I would. Chapter 27. September 22, 2024. Tonight was my farewell dinner. Everyone expressed their reluctance to see me go, including the unit chief. He said, "I know why you became a police assistant in the first place. It was always for this case." I raised my glass to him and smiled. As we were leaving, he asked, "Now that you're quitting, what are you planning to do next?" "I don't know," I said. "Maybe I'll go back to my old line of work." Chapter 28. 1 year later. The kindergarten that had once shut down reopened, welcoming a new beginning. On an early autumn evening, a familiar snack stand quietly waited outside the gate. With the National Day holiday approaching, the kindergarten was rehearsing a performance, and gentle singing drifted out. Happiness is having you by my side, giving me wings. Lost in the moment, I didn't notice someone calling out to me. "Uncle, may I have a cookie?" The little girl in front of me wore a simple dress. She stretched out her small hand, 2 coins resting on her palm. As if she had stepped out of another time. I handed her a cookie. "Your uncle's first customer today. This one's on me." "Really? That's wonderful." She smiled as she took it. "But Uncle has a small request. Could you eat it right here, before you go?" "Okay." She giggled softly and took small bites. Each one. Saying goodbye to the regrets of the past. She suddenly looked up. "Uncle, your cookie is really sweet." "Uncle, you. Why are you crying?"